Welcome to NothingisOB South Texas Golf Podcast with your host, Andy Torres. Welcome to NothingisOB South Texas Golf Podcast, episode number 80, presented by Four Bros Golf League. Never golf alone again. If you don't have a home, we have a home for you. Also presented by my gold sponsor, Blackbird Golf. I really want to thank Demonte and Thor for their partnership, for their friendship. Make sure you check out Blackbird Golf Apparel. All right. We have a big tournament going on October 19th, Wednesday, held at the Quarry Golf Tournament. It is going to be the Blackbird Second Annual Scholarship Invitational. Now, we have partnered with Cameron Champ Foundation. We're going to be giving away $10,000 worth of scholarships for Blackbird Golf. And for those scholars, for those recipients, it's a great time to be a golfer and a young golfer here in San Antonio. And I'm so thankful to have that partnership with Demonte and Thor. Now tonight, my special guest is the CEO of the First Tee Greater San Antonio, Carrie Kimbell. Hey, Carrie, thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Hi, Andy. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm super psyched. It's been a long time coming. I'm so thankful for you being on the show tonight, and let's kick things off.
Okay.
Where did everything start? Where did this whole golf journey start for you?
Well, I guess how far back do you want to go? I grew up in Chicago, suburb of Chicago, and my parents would take me to the driving range. And then in middle school, I would go to the par 3 golf course with a lot of my guy friends, because way back when, girls golf was not that popular, but always loved it. And, it was a great way for my mom to get the kids out of the house and drop us off. So she'd drop us off and then come back and pick us up. When I was going into high school, I played volleyball in middle school, and there was a boys golf team, but there wasn't a girls golf team where my school was. But I talked to the golf coach, and he said, he had daughters that were kind of coming up through the ranks. So he said, hey, if you want to be on the team, you're on the team. Well, at that point, he didn't even know I'd never played 18 holes before. I was probably shooting 120. And so that summer, I played my first 18 holes, getting ready to get on the boys golf team at Elgin High School. And I'll back up. That night when we left the sports banquet or sports orientation, my dad said to me, I don't care what you do, but you can play golf for the rest of your life. And it was really those words that have really changed the course of my life. It really set me on the path that I'm on today. And I'm so grateful. I tell him that all the time. I'm so grateful for that. So I played on the boys golf team in high school. And then I walked on at Purdue University. I played there for 2 years. And that was a really awesome experience, being a Big Ten athlete. When you're not on scholarship, though, you don't get to play as much. And so I decided to enjoy my last 2 years of college. Drew Brees was there. Bobby Knight and Gene Katie were going at it on the basketball court. So I kind of got the best of both worlds.
Now, how is it being up there, up north? How is that golf up north compared to South Texas golf? How is that?
Well, I definitely like Bent Greens better than Bermuda, but you play a ton. Chicago is an amazing golf town. I mean, people are golf crazy up there, I think, because you only get to play 5 months out of the year. Sometimes if you're really crazy, 7. But it's a great golfing town. There's great golf courses. I was fortunate enough to work at Medina Country Club during the 06 PGA Championship. There's just great golf courses. And so people love that area.
Wow. So you were there for the heartbreak at Medina, correct?
Yes. No, heartbreak. That's when Tiger won by 10 or something.
Oh, okay. My bad, man. That was a good one. That was a good one then, right?
That was a good one. Yes.
We'll see. I have family in Chicago, and you're right. We are blessed here in Texas that we, like, all seasons, it's golf season, right?
Yes.
And so I always hear that. I have one buddy up north that him and his dad have played at least one time every month, and they have like 54 months going, and that's because they live in Wisconsin.
Well, they're brave souls, and I think you just get used to the cold and but I'm definitely Texified and warm weather. lover, so I will not be moving back anytime soon.
So with being a Big Ten golfer, and how did you make your way to South Texas, and especially here in San Antonio?
So after college, I worked in various roles. I worked at Desert Mountain first, out in Scottsdale. I moved out there after college. Then I worked for Troon Golf Corporate. Moved back home in January or spring of 2004. I worked at Medina Country Club. I was corporate sales buyer and corporate sales manager and assistant buyer for Medina Country Club, which I was there for 8 years. When I met my former husband, John Kimbell, he was playing on the nationwide tour. We were paired in a pro-am for a nationwide tour event, and then moved with him to Georgia. And then he was from here. He went to high school here, and his parents, so he always felt like this was home. And so he was still traveling. So when we decided to leave Georgia, we moved to San Antonio because he was still traveling at the time, and it was equidistant to go to both coasts. And they were building TPC, so you remember there when you're on the tour. And he would never have moved to Chicago because it's too cold. So yeah, that's kind of how I got in golf and got to San Antonio.
Well, I know when we spoke yesterday, you spoke briefly about being on his bag for a few tournaments. Mm-hmm. So why don't you give us one of those stories that from your time being on the bag and being a caddy?
Yeah, it was 2 years that I did it. Just the awesome experience. As much as I love golf, just being up at close and personal. And I think what you realize the most is, the guys that have gotten to the PGA Tour, to stay there, is really hard. It's one thing to get there, it's to stay there. And so there were so many guys that, names that you guys know, Bob May, Len Matisse, Mike Weir, that, had their success, but then had lost it. And then they're back on the nationwide tour. And it could have been 10, 12 years after their prime. So, I think having that experience is making friendships with a lot of those folks, the friends that are still friends of mine today, was really awesome. He qualified, the only PGA Tour event he qualified for was the 2013 John Deere, which is the Jordan Spieth's first win.
Yeah.
Right. And I had caddied for him at that point for 2 years, but wasn't caddying for him at the time because we had the kids. And he Monday qualifies, and I caddied for him during the Monday qualifier. And he said, "Well, you're going to caddy for me." And I said, "Well, no, I don't want to caddy for you. This is the PGA Tour. It's, different. You're playing for a lot more money. I don't want to screw anything up." And he's like, "You're absolutely caddying for me." And I said, I didn't sleep all of Monday nights. I didn't know who we were going to get paired with. And then the pairings came out on Tuesday, and we were paired with Luke List and Scott Gardner, who we had played with 50 times on the nationwide tour. So it was I was eased with who the pairing was that we got. So I wasn't nervous anymore.
What was your forte when you were on the bag? Like, were you a good yardage person, or were you just kind of like changing the subject, or were you good putt reader? What was the thing that you were good at?
Definitely not a putt reader. Just really double checking the yardages. He would always check his yardages as well. So I think just double checking the yardages to make sure it's accurate, and just talking through the shot and seeing what club you're going to hit. Ultimately his decision, but trying to get to a common answer.
Now let's get right into what your role is here in San Antonio. Now your name carries a lot of weight. Your name carries a lot of weight here in the golf world. Because Golf San Antonio is a huge nonprofit, or in the greater the first tee Greater San Antonio. It carries a lot of weight here in the city of San Antonio for the game of golf. Mm-hmm. Now, how did you make your way to the first tee and Golf San Antonio?
So we have two boys, 9 and 8, or 11. Oh, sorry, 11 and 9. And I had worked at Rackspace for 5 years, and then I was at a startup when I was contacted about the Golf San Antonio first tee job. And I remember I had been traveling a lot with the company I was at prior to working at First Tee. I was gone a lot. My territory was the West Coast, which is just not easy to get to from San Antonio. So it's really, especially getting home, it's a full day wasted getting home. And I had actually just gotten back from 2 weeks in Australia, and my suitcase never seemed to be unpacked. The boys are young. I just wasn't around, and you just don't miss out on these times of their life. And I wasn't looking to leave. The job was great, the culture was great, the company was awesome. But when I got the text from a board member that her and Mary had thought about me for this job, I literally sat on my bed, stared at my unpacked suitcase, and just said, this is my job. I love golf. My golf experience that I've just had 5 years of enterprise sales experience in a technology company that can help in so many fronts, obviously from a nonprofit perspective, that I just said, I didn't even know the details. The hair on my arm stood up, and I was just like, this is my job. So I'm so grateful. I started in January of 2020, which is also interesting. But, I get to stay in San Antonio, which I love. I absolutely love San Antonio. I love golf. I love kids. And here we are.
Now, tell everybody what some of the programs or what are some of the things that you oversee, because if anyone goes to the range there on Mulberry, goes to the first tee, we'll see you. We'll see you in your office. We'll see you working. It's pretty transparent as to where you are right at the time. And you have a great view from your office. You do.
Yes.
You have a great, beautiful view from your office. But I don't think a lot of people know, and especially with you and I, when we were speaking yesterday, you were telling me all of the different, things that are under your belt, and it just kind of blew my mind.
So when I started in January of 20, Mary Carricker was really instrumental in building an amazing foundation for the first tee and for Golf San Antonio. And I'm super grateful to her for her, support. And she came on with me and kind of, helped shadow me through my first few months. And I can still call her today, when I have questions. But all organizations have to go through evolutions to continue to grow and be relevant. And so starting in January of 20, obviously, COVID hit in March of 20, which was like everybody else, there's panic, shock, wonder what's going to happen. What does the future look like? And obviously, fortunately for all of us, golf was something that saved a pandemic, truly. So from that perspective, it was really great. Well, COVID was really a blessing for First Tee and Golf San Antonio because it really allowed us to pause. I was new to the organization. I had some staff changes. I had a new program director, so if we would have been kind of going and gusto like we had normally been, it's kind of like we would have been drinking from a fire hose, which we were already, but it really would have been had it been a normal year. So COVID really allowed us to slow down, kind of look at the organization, peel back the layers, and see, what changes needed to be made to continue to grow. And our program director, we had volunteer manuals, coaches manuals. We're at 8 other locations besides the polo field, but there wasn't a lot of consistency with the program delivery from like Landa Park to Hyatt. So, we didn't have the same equipment at all places. So we really just took pause and standardized everything, operationalized everything, and made sure that the experience that the kids were having at Landa or Hyatt or a polo field was the same, right? And that's the same then it's the same for the volunteers. Like they want to know what they're doing, so they could go to some other location and pick it up. So that helped us a lot. The second thing was, we had a lot of events. We were an event management company prior, and we had a lot of events that really, when you looked at the numbers, the net of those events wasn't a lot. And those take up a lot of time for the staff, resources. And it's like you finish one, you're starting the other, and, you have less resources focused on the mission, which is obviously helping the kids. So COVID canceled a lot of those events, right? So it kind of forced our hand to say, like, we need to move from hosting events to generate revenue to building relationships, cultivating relationships, and hopefully getting people to buy into what we're doing and build a database of donors that support us in that way. So that was the long-term goal when I started, and it quickly became the short-term goal because of COVID. So that was a blessing as well.
So for our listeners and for our viewers out there, you are in charge of the first tee of the greater San Antonio area, mm-hmm. and you are in charge of setting up the amateur tournaments for Golf San Antonio. And is there anything else that does follow under your belt?
Right. So I'm the CEO. I have Kellen Kubasek, who is my COO. He came from North Texas PGA, where he was running the North Texas PGA golf tournaments in golf tournaments since he graduated from Texas Tech. So he came in and we had to kind of change the structure of our organization because I couldn't be in the weeds of everything anymore. I couldn't be doing operations of the program, the golf tournaments, the facility management, and the marketing and fundraising for the organization. Like it's a lot. And so Kellen came in and he is now over the facility, the driving range facility, all the amateur golf tournaments, Golf San Antonio, our rules group, Golf San Antonio rules group, and then our program. And it's allowed me to kind of remove myself from the operations side of the business and focus more on marketing, fundraising, spreading awareness in the community. I've joined the Rotary. I joined the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber, just trying to get out into the community and make sure that people know what First Tee does.
Well, you spoke about the relationships you have, and that you've created. Now, I know one of the big relationships you have is with Andrew Peterson, the Alamo City Golf Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are your thoughts, or what type of relationship does that have, or that y'all have, that you're able to provide a great opportunity and a great product for golfers here, not only just juniors, but also, mid amateurs and seniors as well?
Yes. So Golf San Antonio, I ran those tournaments the first year, which was, again, a lot with everything else that was going on. But, it was really good for me to run those, understand them. I absolutely love doing that because I love being with the golfers. Obviously, we all have a common bond, right? So being with them, talking with them, getting to know them. A lot of them are my really good friends today. But then we hired Rick Quintanilla, who is now our golf operations manager. And we look at it as we like to, Andrew's a great friend. Alamo City Golf Trail is a great partner. We help each other out when we can. But we also want to have opportunities for the best amateur golfers in San Antonio to play other golf courses besides the city golf courses. So we have some at city golf courses, and we have some partnerships with our other facilities that we try to get golfers that opportunity to play in a championship event at any course in San Antonio, really.
Has there been any struggles or any tough relationships or tough talks that you've had with other courses or with other management groups that you haven't been able to bring GSA to?
So honestly, I mean, no, it's not tough, right? Like COVID is awesome for golf, right? These courses are all slammed. And so you understand it, like, the rates that we were asking for weren't able to be given because they could fill that with rack rates. So, we've tried to work on building those relationships with the local golf courses. Very grateful to Oak Hills for allowing our men's championship to, have the last day, the cut, be at Oak Hills. I mean, that hasn't happened before. And we're going to continue to do things like that as we continue to go forward. We now have establishment in place. Kellen's really going to own the amateur golf side, the business side of building and rebuilding and preserving the history and the heritage that those boards at BRAC have on them. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. I mean, that's our goal, is to preserve the history and the heritage from those boards that have been up there for 60 years. I think the men's championship had its 100th year anniversary in COVID, which was unfortunate because we really weren't able to celebrate it the way we could have. So I just think, being able to have, spread the love amongst all golf courses, and it'll come back. I mean, golf courses are going away. I mean, Fair Oaks is down 118. It just seems like people, La Cantera is down in 18 holes. So it's just the sign of the times right now that COVID is not allowing this. But I have a feeling we'll be back here. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I think, the economy and everything else will be able to get back out there.
As you've taken over for the Golf San Antonio, has there been any big projects that you've overseen as you've in your short tenure with the program? Has there been anything that has been like a huge goal of yours, or something that you just really want to see happen, or that's something in the works that you can give to our listeners and our viewers?
Again, COVID really flipped everything on its head. And so we're kind of coming out of that now. We have a great organization. One of the things was new board members. We have a lot of board members that have been on for a long time, and they've stuck with us through COVID. We have terms, and they've decided to stay on because, one, they want to support the mission, and two, we just haven't been able to get out and meet with people to talk about our mission and to bring them on. We've just onboarded 7 amazing new board members so that the ones that have been there a long time can overlap and transition and they can go and still be ambassadors, but the new ones can come and take over. So I'm really excited about that. We've had to ramp up our volunteer and coaches program. Unfortunately, we had wait lists last year because we're trying to build up the volunteer and coaches. Anyone that works in a nonprofit realizes that, volunteers are, the lifeblood of any nonprofit. You can't keep hiring all these people, especially for part-time work, but it's hard to even find people to work now for money, let alone people that want to work and give their time. So really ramping up that program because they can't always make it every session. And so we've been working on that. We have our city lease now through May of 27. So continuing to work on that, build relationships in the city, because we'd love to stay at Brackenridge Park right there.
That'd be a good thing, right?
It would be amazing. It would be amazing. And so yeah, I mean those are the big projects. I have some planning meetings coming up for 2023 where I think, really setting a vision for the organization now that we're kind of through COVID. We know what our lease is at this time. The board members that I've onboarded are influential in the community and have a vision like that. So, we're a $1.5 million operation now. Our goal is to get to 3. And so just kind of plotting that out to see how we get that, how many kids does that increase in our organization? Because, we want to preserve the game and we want to grow the game. Those are our 2 main pillars. So.
Well, I truly feel you're hitting on that. One of my good buddies is a volunteer out there, Doug Carlton.
Oh,
and he's my man. I mean, he is just the sweetest soul. And I know he is just an amazing volunteer. And I know he got an award, if I'm not mistaken, like I think a few months ago for all of his work and volunteering. And I know he does some great things. And I love talking and speaking with him because he's got the passion, he's got that bug, he's got that itch to really give back. And I think y'all are putting out, I know for being a coach and being a teacher, I know that golf is just kind of like a small portion of what y'all do. And it's y'all are really building these young men and young women up to be better people.
Yes. And Doug is amazing. He was our volunteer of the year last year, and he brings us a lot of eggs because he's got chickens.
Hey, you and me both. He's like, hey, can you meet me at the first tee? Always.
Yes. And then he brought some amazing cream cheese cookies this week or pastries that Kellen can't stop eating. So, the MJ who runs our volunteer program has done an amazing job of building. Again, culture is really big to me. Coming from tech was awesome with culture. So MJ's done a really good job of making our volunteers feel, appreciated for their time. We have events quarterly. We try to, if we get rounds of golf, we try to give them that, and then we bring them together. And it's been really cool to see, other volunteers from other locations. They get together and they start talking naturally about how, what it means to them to volunteer there. And I think just creating a community and creating a place where people are appreciated has really been instrumental. So MJ's done a great job with that.
Now, has there been some of the positives or something positive that you really, I know you've stated the board members and, COVID and getting out of it. We talked about those positives. Has there been anything that has kind of hampered some of the progress or something that has really kind of slowed you down?
No, I just, I'm a very impatient person. And so when you start somewhere, I can't even believe it's been 2.5 years, but when you start somewhere and you want to have all these things happen and it doesn't happen as fast as you want. But I can look back now, 2.5 years, if you look back, you can see a lot of things that progress that you've made. I mean, we outsourced our HR and finance functions. We've brought in, new programs for our older kids for retention. We have a 4-year future speaker series. We have different local leaders in the community come during our program sessions to deliver the life lesson to our older kids. And my heart is so full because when that first Bruce Bowen was my first speaker, and the kids, I think they were scared, and he's very dynamic, and he, talks like this, and he's obviously 6'8", and we were planting questions like to the kids because we want them to engage. The goal of this program is for the leaders to meet them because they know that the education and the work that they're doing at the first tee, but then it's also for them to meet the leaders. Maybe not obviously Bruce Bowen plays professional basketball, but I had, a COO from Rackspace. We've had an astronaut. I'm trying to introduce them to things that they maybe wouldn't have even thought of. And then it's a connection that they can get, for their future, right? Like maybe in 5 years when they graduate college, they can go back to Lisa Micklin at Rackspace and say, man, I was really interested in what you said. Here's my resume, right? And this last one we had was Holly Thalman. She owns K. Charles Salons. They were we don't even have to plant questions. They're excited to come. Their parents come. Our board members come because we all learn something from these people. And they talk about their career journey and how maybe what they set out to do, didn't always pan out. Or, Nate Askew, he just came on our board. He former NFL football player, played at A&M. He got cut from the football team from the NFL. And he talked about that journey and how it was difficult, but that doesn't define him and how he goes forward. So I'm so grateful. These kids are just now really engaged. And I think the reason we created these programs is because we do have a retention issue when you get older, because kids have so many different things that they can be involved in, right? Especially in high school. And so we want them to choose to stay in the first tee. And by providing these additional programs and benefits, we're hoping that we can keep them, through their high school years.
What's your favorite golf course here in town?
Well, I think my friends at River Crossing would be mad if I didn't say River Crossing first, because that's where I'm a member. But that's my token answer. But then it's Oak Hills. It reminds me the most of Medina, where I worked, over the par threes over water. When you tee off on 10, it reminds me of hole 14, which is also a par 5 at Medina. And so it kind of gives me a little taste of home here in San Antonio.
I got a question from one of our viewers right here. How do you balance the amount of golf instruction that is taught versus life skills?
Oh, really good question. So we seamlessly integrate the life skills with what we're doing that day for golf. The kids, so if the word's perseverance, we bring them out. It's usually an hour session. We have a warm up. We talk about perseverance. We talk about it on the golf course. We talk about it in life. And then we weave it in throughout the session with the golf, right? So, how do you persevere when you're hitting a bad shot, or how do you do this? And then like the volunteers are coached to talk to them about school. Like, how did you persevere in school this week? So they don't really know. It's not like, they don't really know that they're getting that, and then we quiz them at the end, and there's 9 of them, and they have a book that they do have to pass. And then at the end, we recap and we ask them how they did it. And then we go tell your parents to go home and talk to you about this week about perseverance and the word, or responsibility, or integrity. And so we kind of weave that in. So it's mainly golf, but we're weaving in those life skills throughout the lesson.
Favorite golf memory that you've had?
This one's super easy. When I was at Medina, I had the privilege of playing 18 holes with Michael Jordan, my childhood hero, and Vince Coleman, who was a St. Louis Cardinal that stole, I think 32 straight stolen bases was the record. I think it still stands today. So I got to play 18 holes with Michael, and it was great. It was actually, I didn't know it was going to happen. There was a rumor that it might happen. And then my GM at the time, he comes in, and my maiden name was Jacobson. He comes in, he goes, "Jake, we're on the tee." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yes, we're on the tee." So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I run to the bathroom, go to my car, get my clubs, get on the cart with him. And we're on the first tee, and he's like, "Jake, your zipper's down." I was like, ah. So, I was just so nervous. And then so we're playing Medina number 3. And I'm so nervous. I didn't get to hit any balls to warm up, and I'm duck hooking everything. Like the first 4 holes, I think I picked up on like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
Sounds like my golf game.
And so number 5 is a par 5, and there was 4 guys and me. And so the guys walked over to hit first, and Michael hit first, and I was standing on the tee that I was going to play, and he comes walking over, and I was like, oh my gosh. And he puts his arm around me, and he goes, "Carrie, baby, you just need to relax." And I was like, I said, oh my gosh, I said, it's really difficult. And he's like, I think he said, do you need a shot or something? And I was like, or a beer, because I think he was drinking Corona. And I said, I think it's more like a shot. And so, yeah, it was such an awesome day. He was great. I didn't bet him any money because I couldn't have afforded to, but yeah, he was awesome.
Favorite golf movie?
I mean, I'd probably have to say Caddyshack. I mean, I love Rodney Dangerfield. He's so funny, and just his mannerisms and how he added to that movie. So I would say probably Caddyshack and Rodney Dangerfield.
Man, that's a great movie. I really think that I think in our golf generation now, I think it has to be different, right? For these young golfers, you're around a lot of young golfers. What is like their favorite golf movie for these young golfers that you would say? Is it more like
probably
a Happy
Tin Cup?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd let my daughters watch Tin Cup. I don't know about that one.
I think my boys have watched it actually. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I honestly, it's been a while since I watched movies. I don't have a ton of time, so yeah, I don't even know what it would be. Someone needs to come out with one, I guess, huh? Maybe you can, Andy.
Oh, well, you know what? It would be very short. It'd be a very short. It'd be one of those like Pixar shorts. That's probably the thing I could do, right? Like animated. But you know what? We have a lot of golfers here in San Antonio that are always looking to step up their game, competition wise. You know, this city is it's a beautiful game for amateurs and all golfers of all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest topics, especially with you coming on the show, a lot of viewers and listeners of the show, they want to know that GSA has been a topic of discussion a few times, especially regarding city tournaments and amateur golf.
Right.
And I remember when we spoke yesterday, we spoke about what were some of the things how can you improve that amateur golf experience? Because I got a comment right now. I got a comment right now from one of the viewers. Why is it $300 to play in a tournament with inflation? $300 to play golf, gas, and food.
Okay. I mean, it's a really great question. So when I started, obviously COVID hit. So I'm not saying Golf San Antonio took a back seat, but we tried to just keep those tournaments on the rails while I learned them, right? Because I mean, there was a learning curve there to figure out how to run them, to how to, you know, the value of them, you know, like what it does for the city. I mean, you have to learn all that stuff. So I think there was a lot of value in me actually running those. You know, it hasn't been as much of a focus for us just because of COVID and the first tee and trying to get like that all situated, but it is a focus now. We ran some focus groups in 2020 because we were wondering, we had seen the numbers were going down even before I came on board. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, there's increased competition, right? I mean, you have your own little association, there's Mission City. I mean, I don't even know how many there's a lot of little associations. There's Alamo City Golf Trail. People have their own clubs that they're playing in their own championships. So really there's a lot of competition, right? The other thing is time. You know, it's on weekends. You know, people that have families can't take off for sports. You know, there's limited golf courses in San Antonio. I think, you know, we are a golfing town, but and they're going away, right? Republic closed, you know, Palmer's probably closing. I mean, there's back and forth on that. So, you know, there's limited inventory. So we did do focus groups. And so to the question about the $300, you know, you have the opportunity to play Oak Hills, right? If you make the top. So we're providing, you know, I think Alamo City Golf Trail or Alamo City Golf Tour events are $75 a day, right? So multiply that by 3, it's $225. So if you get to play Oak Hills, it's another $75. It's just $75 more, right? So, you know, we are looking at all of that stuff. We are going to be doing a rebrand of Golf San Antonio. I'm a marketing mind. I love thinking about this stuff. I've been wanting to do it for a couple of years, but it's not just a rebrand of aesthetics and maybe name. It's a rebrand of what we're offering and how can we be different. And I love feedback, all of it, good, bad, whatever. And so, you know, we've had these focus groups. We've had people, you know, tell us things. I mean, golfers are finicky, right? It's an individual sport. So we can't appease everybody, but we want to appease the masses. And so, you know, over the next few months, we're going to be reaching out. Oh, where'd you go? we're going to be reaching out to folks and getting feedback, or call me, email me. I mean, we can talk about it. I've heard things before that, the reason they don't play was reasons from years ago. So, give us a chance. I think amateur golf in San Antonio, we have some amazing amateur golfers. I think, to win a championship against the top players in the city, has a lot of weight. I think we can both be together. I think Alamo City Golf Tour can be there. I think we can be there. People that I have talked to recently, and I've heard it before. It's like the USGA, TGA, GSA, and then Alamo City Golf Tour. I mean, it's a different product, right? It's net. We're just gross. Those are one-day events. We have championships, and we're looking to do some different events as well next year. So, you can put my email address on whatever. And I mean, literally, give me a call. Give Kellen and I and Rick. We're happy to listen.
I appreciate your transparency, because it's not easy to come on a show. I mean, this show isn't nationally syndicated or anything, but I know it's local and golfers do watch the show, and I appreciate that, because so many people are so curious, because like you stated, there are a lot of smaller associations that everyone's always trying to get to that next level. And I know from being here, I'm not a native San Antonian either. I came here in '98. And I remember when I came here, like in the early 2000s, that, San Antonio Amateur Golf Association, or, early stages of Golf San Antonio, it used to carry like a lot of weight. And I know when I had a couple of golfers on, female golfers, I had Ali Trevino, I had Claudia Ramirez on, and, looking at the female golfer teams that played in the 4-ball event, and that was disheartening. And that's one thing that I would love to help you. I would love to help you and help them in regards to getting more, being a father of 2 daughters, getting more female golfers out there. And they made some great points that as a male, I don't think about. They said about, women are, starting families at that age, those mid-ams are, they're starting families, their careers. And I was just like, dang, I don't think about those things looking at that male perspective. So I would love to see, more of these golfers. And because you know what, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we're limited. I think we have it all. We have it all here in town to build those up.
We definitely do. And, I've had comments before, the junior championship, there used to be people out there. The Express News used to write about us. I'm like, if I hear one more time the Express News, I mean, one, I don't know who reads the newspaper.
What's that? What's the Express? What is that?
But, they don't even report on the PGA Tour on the Express News. So I don't know how they're going to report on Golf San Antonio. But I just said to the people that were providing that feedback about the junior championship, I said, we are trying. There's other things that we're going to be trying to do for that as well. But the AJGA is way more popular. There's TJGT, there's Legends Tour, there's STPGA. I mean, there's so many more. There's so much more competition.
I think there's a Blue Bonnet Tour there too.
Yes. I mean, there's so much more competition. To throw a dart on a date, to know that we're going to have the max participation, it's almost impossible. So listen, we have some things in the works that we're trying to do. I think we're going to be able to award stars potentially to our girls that played in the junior championship this year. If we can get more boys participating, we can potentially do that as well. So we are, we're pulling back the layers of the onion, and we're trying to find other ways to add value to the amateur golf in San Antonio. And I think we can be back on the map as one of the best, as the proving, people say like they want to play in GSA events to prepare them for TGA, right? Because it's similar. So I think we can definitely get there. And all I would ask is that people just give it another chance if you haven't played in a while, or give me a call.
I like that. I like that, because you know what? Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Bring it. It's okay.
I got a great question right here. What are some differences between the way previous leadership ran the tournaments versus what you guys are trying to do?
I don't know. I can't really answer that question because I wasn't there. Some things I heard, I think they used to have Monday qualifiers when people didn't need to qualify. So those have been gone since I've been here. Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't really answer that because the one thing I've heard is the Monday qualifiers were something that they thought it was a money grab. Some people that had maybe won some things in the past shouldn't have had to qualify. I think the reason they did those Monday qualifiers is because, you know, if you're a really good amateur player and we have it open to everybody, like like the men's championship, let's say, if we have that open to everybody, you know, and you get paired with a guy that shoots 95, like you're not going to be too happy, right? So I think it was a way, like what the intent was is to get the best players on that championship. But then I don't know if, like, I think people felt like some people shouldn't have had to do that. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think the intention was to make sure the best players were there, but it may have rubbed people the wrong way.
Well, it was awesome to hear that you brought up Mary Carricker and how your predecessor that y'all worked hand in hand in getting you up to speed, because I know it seems like, and from I'm not a crazy I'm a great golfer. I'm just a hat golfer, but I know one thing, that the weight and the title that Mary, she's kind of like the mother of amateur golf here in San Antonio.
Yes.
And so it really makes me feel good to hear that you've kind of drawn on some of that leadership and getting you up to speed, because I think what we're all hoping for is that, you know, like you stated earlier, is that, you know, there's a lot of golf here, and that the relationships are the most important thing, and that we're all trying to get to that same common goal, is getting the best players out there and giving them a platform to perform.
Right. On great golf courses that are well manicured, and, you know, all the things that they like, good greens, great fairways. I think Almas, they're working really hard. It's getting, I mean, they've had some challenges with the tees, but the course is in really great shape. And Oak Hills is just coming off a really, you know, a good overseed. So it's going to be awesome. And I'm grateful to Oak Hills for opening that up. You know, I think they were the pioneer in allowing this to happen. And we've had some conversations for some other potential events at some other country clubs. So stay tuned for that too.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, Oak Hills has one of the best little snack stations out there out of all
correct.
Out of all the country clubs out there. Believe me, I know. I put on about 15 pounds during the summer. I haven't said no to a lot.
That is correct, Andy. Yes, they do.
So one of my last questions I have for you, it said, I put it on there in the notes I gave to you, a special question.
Uh-oh.
Who are you playing your final round of golf with?
Oh my God, are you going to make me cry?
This is one of the questions I ask all my guests.
My boys.
Where are you playing?
St. Andrews would be awesome. Obviously just came off the British Open, but you know, that, you know, they're 11-9, and every time I'm on the first tee with them, or somewhere on the first hole, I say to them, what is mom's favorite thing to do? And they say, play golf with their boys, you know? And I know that someday they'll appreciate that time. I'm appreciating it less right now because they're getting very competitive, and I'm having to break up fights and everything. But
yes, I love it. You're doing the real work. You're doing the real work.
It's my boys, because it's just, you know, that's what golf is so amazing. It's time outside with your family, not on phones, just, you know, friendly competition, beautiful places, you know, the relationships that you build. You just can't get that time back. And so it would be Cameron and Carter.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And you have a big event coming up. I know you stated that you were able to fill it. If you want to just speak on that event that you have coming up, I'd truly appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Andy. Yeah. So we, in the transition of going from having a lot of events, we're focused on one big event. We have our Texas Mutual Invitational on October 6th is a concert with Wynn Williams singing. That's at Alamo Beer Company. And then the golf tournament is on Monday, October 10th at Oak Hills Country Club. So we're grateful to Oak Hills for allowing us to host it there. As of today, 77 days out, we have sold out the golf portion of that event. So very excited about that. Thank you to everyone that has purchased a team. But we do still have some concert sponsorships available, and check it out if you're interested. It's on the First Tee San Antonio website.
Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate your transparency with everybody because, again, I have a lot of amateur golfers on here, and I truly appreciate it because, the topic of amateur golf run through GSA has always popped up. And I appreciate you taking on the questions. I appreciate you being on and being transparent with us. And I'm so thankful. And if you ever need anything from the NothingisOB South Texas Golf Podcast and myself, I'm out here for you.
Well, same to you, Andy. And thanks for doing this. Obviously, bringing golfers together is awesome. And I think there's, it's such a great community of people and we share a passion. Let's just continue to work together to make it the best that it can be.
Hey, thank you so much for being on the show. You have a good night.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Hey, guys, make sure, guys, if you have any questions, you heard Carrie. I will include her email in the show notes because it seems like she's really working hard to try to change some of the views that some of my viewers and some of us out there have. And again, it was great. It was great to hear some of that. And I'm really thankful. And I think we have a good person at the head of the Golf San Antonio that could really carry on that Mary character, carry on that legend, carry on that legacy that was built for golf, for amateur golf here in San Antonio. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please visit my website, www.NothingisOB.com. You can hit me up on different forms of social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. NothingisOB is my handle. Also, please check out my YouTube channel, NothingisOB South Texas Golf Podcast. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. Please click the subscribe button. You can leave a comment, rate, and review. It's how it helps me grow the podcast. I truly thank you for all your support. Remember, in the game of life, nothing is OB.